situations. I used to think my father's word was gospel. We were raised to believe that every penny was for the ministry, that we lived simply so others could have more. Situations, but today I'm standing in a truth I never wanted to face. Similar situations. While the world is celebrating my sister Jana's new baby and my sister-in-law Abby's third bundle of joy news that should be pure happiness, there is a darkness at the big house that can't be ignored anymore. I've seen the documents. I've seen the Heritage Pillar Trust $20 million situations. Money that was funneled through secret accounts while my siblings and I were told to buy used and save the difference. But the most heartbreaking part, situations, it's not just the money, it's what and who that money was hiding. Jana's latest video wasn't just about a baby shower, situations. If you listen to the background of the footage she quickly deleted, you'll hear the exact moment my mother finally broke. Tonight, I'm not just Jill Dillard, situations, the daughter who walked away. I'm the woman who has the receipts. We're going to talk about the escape, the secret bank accounts, situation, and the 20th beneficiary that no one was ever supposed to know about. The umbrella of protection didn't just leak, it's gone. And for the next hour, I'm taking you inside the real Duggar empire. 70 Hoded AM on a Tuesday morning. The world woke up to a notification that seemed like pure joy. Situations, a Jana Duggar Wisman. Our new journey begins. It was a vlog, beautifully edited with that classic beige aesthetic we've come to expect from my sister. Situations. It was supposed to be a look into her final weeks of pregnancy and a celebration of our family's newest addition. Situations. But for the few thousand people who clicked in the first 12 minutes, they didn't just see a nursery reveal. Situations. They saw something that was never meant to leave the big house walls. I'm Jill, and I was one of those people. I watched it with my heart in my throat. Shins. Around the 6-minute mark, Jana is standing in the kitchen of the main house, showing off some baby gifts. She thinks she's alone. But the microphone, those high-end vlogging mics, caught a frequency they weren't supposed to. In the background, situations through the heavy oak doors of my father's office, you can hear it, not the soft, curated voice of my mother, Michelle. You hear a scream, a raw, situations, guttural scream of a woman who has reached her breaking point. And then the voice of Jim Bob cold, calculated, situations, and terrifyingly loud, yelling about loyalty and the accounts. Jana freezes in the video. You can see the color drain from her face. She looks at the camera, situations, her eyes darting toward the hallway, and then the screen goes black. 2 minutes later, the video was removed by user, but the internet doesn't forget. Situations. That deleted footage is the smoking gun. It wasn't just a family argument, it was the sounds of a 40-year-old facade shattering in real time. For years, situations, we were told that my father was the umbrella of protection, but that audio proves he's the storm. Why was my mother screaming about a trust fund? Situations. Why was she begging to see the bank statements of the children she spent her life raising? Tonight, we aren't just talking about a deleted YouTube video. Situations, we are talking about the moment the Duggar secrets became too loud to keep hidden. My sister Jana is caught in the middle. Situations, trying to protect a perfect image while the house literally crumbles behind her. This isn't just gossip. This is a cry for help that was accidentally uploaded for the world to hear. And as your sister, as a daughter who escaped, I cannot stay silent while that scream echoes in my ears. We are going to deconstruct that audio second by second, situations. And I'm going to tell you exactly what my father was trying to hide in that 20 million secret vault. Growing up, situations, we were taught that a debt is a trap and simplicity is godliness. My father, Jim Bob, built an entire brand around being a frugal, wise steward of money. We wore used clothes, we ate tater tot casserole to save cents, and we worked for free on the family show for years. We were told there was no money. Situations, the ministry took it all. But as I sit here today, I am looking at a stack of documents that prove our childhood was a financial lie. Situations, I am talking about the Heritage Pillar Trust, a secret fund worth over $20 million that my father has been building in the shadows while his children struggled to pay their own medical bills. Situations, I remember the day I finally asked for my own contract. The look of betrayal on my father's face was something I'll never forget. Situations, he told me I was being unsubmissive, but now I know why he was so angry. He wasn't protecting me, he was protecting this paper trail. In this segment, situations, we are following the money using a forensic accountant. We've traced funds from the early TLC days through a series of shell companies, Faith First LLC Heritage Holdings, and Town Investments. None of these names were ever mentioned to us. This 20 million didn't just come from reality TV. It came from land deals, from using the family's nonprofit status to flip real estate, and most shockingly, situations from the inheritance of children that was signed over to him the moment we turned 18. He would place a document in front of us. Situations tell us it was for illegal protection, and we would sign, never knowing we were signing away our financial freedom. But here is the most chilling discovery: the 20th beneficiary. The trust is divided among the 19 children, but there is a massive portion, nearly 5 million, reserved for a 20th name that is redacted in every public filing. Who is this person? Situations: why are they getting more than the biological children? When my mother screamed in Jana's deleted video, she wasn't just upset. She had found these papers. She realized that while she was raising 19 kids in a crowded house, her husband was hoarding a fortune that could have changed our lives. Tonight, Sushin, the paper trail ends here. We are exposing every LLC, every hidden bank account in the Cayman Islands, and the man who used God to hide his greed. Now we arrive at the question that has kept me awake for weeks. Situations. While I was digging through the Heritage Pillar Trust documents, I expected to see 19 names, my siblings and I. But as I flipped to the final page of the distribution schedule, my blood ran cold. There was a 20th slot. Beneficiary number 20. At first, situations, I thought maybe it was a charity or a church fund. But no, this person has a private trust account tied to a birth date that doesn't match anyone in our family. Situations, and the amount allocated to this mystery person, it's staggering. While the rest of us were fighting for a small percentage of our childhood earnings. Situations, this person has been receiving a monthly allowance of $10,000 for the last 5 years. Situations, I've spent nights talking to private investigators and looking into my father's travel records. Why did Jim Bob make 32 trips to a small town in Oklahoma over the last decade? Situations, trips he told my mother were for real estate ministry, but trips where he always went alone. In Jana's deleted video, situations, if you listen closely to the end of that argument, you can hear my mother scream a name. It's a name we've never heard in our house. She cries out, does she know? Situation. Does she know you're using our children's money for her? Could it be that the man who preached family values to the entire world has a secret second family? Situations. Or is it someone from his past that he's been paying to keep quiet? The documents show that beneficiary 20 is currently 21 years old. The math is haunting. Situations, that would mean this person was born right around the time our show, 19 Kids and Counting, was becoming a global phenomenon. Tonight, situations. We aren't just looking at bank statements, we are looking at the ultimate betrayal. If this is who I think it is, it explains why my father was so desperate to keep us under his thumb. He wasn't protecting our souls, he was protecting his darkest secret. He used our faces to build an empire, and then he used the profits to fund a life we weren't allowed to know existed. The mask is off. Situations, and the 20th beneficiary is about to have a name. They say the truth always comes out in the dark. For my parents, Jim Bob and Michelle, situations, that moment arrived at 400 a.m. on a cold Arkansas night, while the rest of the world saw them as the gold standard of Christian marriage. That night, situations, the big house became a battlefield. I've spoken to a source, someone who was inside the house that night, and what they described was chilling. It didn't start with a scream, it started with silence. My mother had found the safe key. For years, situations, she was told she didn't need to worry about the business side of things. But that night, she opened the drawer. She found the ledgers for the Heritage Pillar Trust and the photos of the 20th beneficiary. Situations, when my father walked into that office and saw the papers spread across the desk, the mask finally slipped. This wasn't the calm, smiling Jim Bob the cameras knew. This was a man who saw his empire collapsing. The argument that followed wasn't about religion or family, it was about control. The leaked audio from Jana's deleted video only caught the end of it, but the confrontation lasted hours. My mother, situations, the woman who was taught to never raise her voice, was shouting, how could you? Situations, how could you use my children's birthright to fund a lie? My father's response was even more cold. He didn't deny it. Situations, he simply told her that she was out of alignment and that if she left, she would leave with nothing. No money, no house, and no access to the grandchildren. That was his mistake. He thought her fear of the world was stronger than her love for the truth. But that night, situations, Michelle Duggar realized that the umbrella of protection she had lived under for decades was actually a cage. She didn't pack a suitcase. She didn't call a lawyer. She grabbed her coat, her Bible, and the copies of those 20 million bank statements. As she walked out that front door at 4:00 a.m., my father stood on the porch and told her she'd be back by sunrise. He was wrong. That was the last time she ever called that house home. Tonight, we are breaking down the exact words exchanged in that office and the moment my mother finally chose herself over the dynasty. The moment my mother, Michelle, stepped off that porch, she was officially an outcast. In the Duggar world, when you leave the umbrella, you are alone. But she wasn't. Situations, waiting at the end of the long, dark driveway was a car with its headlights off. Behind the wheel was the one person my father always warned us to stay away from, our cousin, Amy King. For years, Jim Bob told us Amy was a dangerous influence. Now we know why. He wasn't afraid of her lifestyle. He was afraid of her bravery. Situation Amy had been preparing for this call for months. She had a go bag ready, a burner phone, and most importantly, situations, a location that my father's private investigators could never find as they drove away from the big house for the last time. Amy didn't take her to a hotel or a crowded city. She took her to a secluded farmhouse, a property Amy had quietly leased under a different name months ago. Situations, I've spoken with Amy briefly, and she told me something I'll never forget. She said, Jill, for the first time in 40 years, I saw your mother breathe. Situations, really breathe inside that safe house. There are no cameras, no microphones, and no Jim Bob telling her what to think. Situations, there are only the documents, the 20 million paper trail, and a team of lawyers that Amy personally vetted. But the most shocking part, Amy isn't just hiding my mother, she's recording her. She's helping Michelle document every single detail of the financial and emotional control she endured. While my father is frantically calling everyone, trying to bring her home to avoid a scandal, Amy is building a fortress around her. Tonight, situations, we're going inside that secret location. Situations, we're going to talk about the security measures in place and the reason why Amy King has become the most powerful person in the Duggar story. This isn't just a family feud anymore. It's a rescue mission. And for the first time in history, situations, the Duggars don't have the key to the door. The moment we've all been dreading yet waiting for is here. Who is the person behind the redacted name in the 20 million trust? Situations. Who is the 20th beneficiary that was guaranteed $5 million while the rest of the 19 children were left with pennies? After days of digging through the Heritage Pillar trust filings, my legal team found a link. A small recurring payment to a private school in Oklahoma and later to a high-end apartment complex in Dallas, the name on the lease. Kendall, a 21-year-old woman who, until now, didn't exist in the Duggar family tree, but Kendall isn't just a stranger. I've obtained a leaked clip from an interview she gave to a private investigator just 48 hours ago. In her own words, she describes a life of hush money and NDA contracts. She claims that for 2 decades, situations, she was told her father was a wealthy businessman who couldn't be seen with her because of his public ministry. The documents prove that Jim Bob didn't just give her money. Situations, he bought her silence, a $5 million payoff scheduled to fully released on her 21st birthday, which happens to be next month. Why now? Why so much? Because Kendall was about to go public. She was tired of being the dirty secret of the man who preached about the sanctity of the family. In Jana's deleted video, situations, the reason my mother was screaming wasn't just about the money. She had found a photo of Kendall that looks disturbingly like a younger version of my father. The betrayal isn't just financial, it's biological. If Kendall is who she claims to be, then the 19 kids and counting brand was a lie from the very beginning. There was always a 20th child, a child born in the shadows, funded by the show's profits, while we were told to live in poverty for the sake of the gospel. Tonight, situations, we aren't just looking at a secret bank account. We are looking at a daughter who is ready to reclaim her name. And as her source, if that is indeed what she is, I am ready to hear her story. The 5,000 million payoff failed Jim Bob. The truth is officially out of the vault. My father's first move wasn't a prayer, it was a lawsuit. Within hours of the 4:00 a.m. escape, Situations. His legal team filed an emergency injunction. He tried to freeze every bank account associated with the family name, including the ones my younger siblings rely on. Situations. But here's the bombshell: we found blanket signatures, documents we were forced to sign as teenagers that gave him total control over our financial identities. In this segment, we break down the Heritage Pillar Trust documents that show how 20 million moved through shell companies like Faith First LLC to avoid taxes, while we were told to buy used and save the difference. The legal war for the Duggar millions officially begun. Jana was the stay-at-home daughter for decades. Situations. She was the glue holding the big house together. But when she uploaded that video and forgot to edit out the background audio of my mother screaming, situation, she didn't just make a mistake. She made a choice. We've discovered that Jana had been secretly moving her heirloom furniture out of the house for weeks. She knew the storm was coming. We analyzed the 12 minutes of deleted footage frame by frame, showing the exact moment Jana looks at the camera with a face that says, I can't do this anymore. Cinderella has finally left the palace, and she took the keys with her. We've tracked the 5 by million paper trail to a small town in Oklahoma for 21 years. A young woman named Kendall lived a life of luxury funded by anonymous donors. We have the receipts showing monthly payments of $10,000 from accounts linked to my father. Neighbors describe a man in a dark suit who visited once a month but never stayed the night. This isn't just a secret, it's a shadow family. Tuitions. We reveal the non-disclosure agreements, NDAs that Kendall was pressured to sign on her 18th birthday to keep the Duggar brand clean. The 20th beneficiary is no longer a number. She has a face. The 19 siblings are no longer a united front. Leaked group chats show a violent divide. On one side, the loyalists led by the brothers who still depend on my father's payroll. On the other, the truth seekers, me, Jinger, situations, and now a silent alliance with the younger girls. We discussed the heated confrontation that happened in the big house kitchen just 48 hours ago. Situations where my brothers argued over who gets the remaining trust money. The umbrella of protection has turned into a battlefield, and the casualties are the relationships we were told would last forever. What does a woman do after 40 years of being told how to think? Situations. In Amy King's safe house, my mother experienced her first Friday night without a curfew or a dress code. Amy tells me that mom sat by the window for 5 hours just watching the rain, realized she didn't have to ask permission to make a cup of tea. The healing is painful. We discussed Michelle's realization that her submission was actually silence. She is now working with a trauma therapist to deconstruct the IBLP teachings that kept her trapped in that 20 million gilded cage. It's not just a family feud anymore. Situations. The federal government is watching. When you claim ministry status to hide 20 million in real estate deals, you invite the IRS. Our forensic team found that the big house is registered under a non-profit tax exemption that may be fraudulent. If the IRS proves that the children's TV earnings were laundered into my father's private real estate empire, tuitions, he isn't just facing a divorce, he's facing prison time. Tuitions, we look at the Josh Duggar effect and how the previous scandals have left the family zero political protection. Jinger was the first to truly escape to Los Angeles. Situations. Now, she is the one calling the safe house every night, teaching our mother how to use a smartphone, how to set up a private bank account. Situations, and how to live without fear of the divine judgment. We contrast the two generations of Duggar women, the daughter who led the way and the mother who finally followed. Situations. Jinger's book, Free Indeed, has become the roadmap for my mother's new life. This is the ultimate role reversal, the child becoming the parent's protector. The moment that will change everything. Kendall has officially reached out to me. Tuitions. She doesn't want the 5 million hush money anymore. She wants a sister. We discussed the preparations for the first ever meeting between the public Duggars and the secret Duggar. If this meeting happens, the 5 million silence contract is void. This segment explores the DNA logistics and the possibility of a joint press conference that would legally and socially dismantle my father's legacy once and for all. The big house in Chinatown is quiet tonight. Situations. The cameras of the children have scattered and the queen has left the throne. This final 15 minutes is a meditation on the price of a lie. Jim Bob Duggar built a 20 million empire on the backs of his children's innocence, only to end up alone in a 20,000 square foot mansion. Situations. We conclude with a message to my siblings who are still inside, the door is open, and the truth doesn't have to be scary. The Duggar dynasty is dead. Situations, but the Duggar children are finally, for the first time in history, actually counting